Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome to the Southside Beat here on DK Pittsburgh Sports Steelers YouTube channel. My name is Chris Halicke. Corey Crisan will be joining me shortly. He is, working on the South Side, hence the name Southside Beat. But, he'll be joining me here shortly, probably in about 10 minutes, according to a text I just got from him probably about 5 minutes ago. So, it's Thursday. We're getting closer and closer to game day. Steelers Cardinals this Sunday at Acrisure Stadium. Welcome everybody. And until Corey joins me, you guys are in the co-host chair with me. So bring your questions, your comments, your concerns, your praise, whatever you want to do, whatever you want to say, man. Let's talk about it. But, Swan asking, will he be in his car, the facility, the weird hallway? I don't know. Wherever the internet works, I guess. That's the biggest hurdle always when it comes to shooting from the South Side is exactly. Beathel says whatever works. Wherever the internet works. I still don't have an answer for why my internet was so bad on Monday or Tuesday, whatever day it was, but that was crazy. I had no explanation for that. My internet, I have 500 megabit internet. I wish I had gigabit internet. That'd be awesome. I'd be able to download the entire internet. Jay with the hat says he's having a cage match with CM Punk. Yeah, Corey's I'm also a wrestling fan, but I think Corey's just a little bit more what's the word I want to say? Expressive about it. I'll put it that way. So, but here we go. I mean, it's Thursday. We're getting closer. As the coordinator Thursday, Eddie Faulkner, Tara Lawson both talked today. Swan asks, where will Martinez fit in the rotation when he gets playing time? Honestly, I'd probably still say, behind. Definitely Landon Roberts and Michael Walker are going to get the majority of the snaps right now. And then when you include Minka coming back, if he comes back this week, obviously him being a full participant in practice yesterday is a great development when it comes to Minka's return, potential return. You're talking about possibly deploying the 3 safety look a little bit more often because I think Trenton Thompson has absolutely earned a spot. He's played really, really well, got rewarded with the interception last week. So that obviously impacts how they use off-ball linebackers as well. So, I honestly don't know, and I don't expect it to happen quickly. We've seen this with defensive players who are brought in, past the training camp or preseason phase. These defensive players typically don't get plugged in quickly. You know what I'm saying? Like they have to learn the system. They have to learn the language of the system. They have to learn the concepts that are called. They have to learn everything. And, I don't anticipate it happening quickly. I don't. So says feel like an Achilles is a bad injury for an inside linebacker. It's a bad injury for everybody. I mean, you can't. I don't care what Aaron Rodgers says. That Achilles was not fully torn. If it was, he wouldn't be possibly playing on it again this season. You just don't have your ability to use your legs or your leg or your Achilles is a pretty important part of your anatomy. Clyde says your chalk talk is awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for the compliment. This past one was a lot more fun to put together. That's for sure. And mainly because because the film was a lot more enjoyable to watch. They put up 421 points. They only are not 421 yards. I wish 421 points. That'd be crazy. I'm mixing thoughts. They put up 421 yards, but only scored 16 points. Obviously you want to score more points, but for just the look of it, the feel of it, the flow, everything looked better. It looked more fluid. It looked like the details were more ironed out, even though they weren't great in the red zone. They still looked like they had a purpose with everything with everything that they were doing, and so it was very, very enjoyable to put together. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I tried to not make them too long because I don't want them to be so overloaded with information that people have a hard time following them. But that one was a little bit difficult to do. That one was almost twice as long as they normally are. Damon asks, what were the coordinators talking about today? Didn't catch the press conference. I'm going to save that for when Corey comes on here. He was there. I don't want to take away from that. As soon as Corey gets on here, probably in about 5 minutes or so. Have I gotten any other texts? No, I have not. So, here we go. Here's some news. Got some news here. Week 15 against the Colts. That will be played on Saturday, December 16th at 4:30 Eastern. Okay. So that's one of those games where it was a flex of it was either going to be Saturday or Sunday. So that's actually going to be back-to-back weeks that the Steelers play on Saturday. Because the next week they play on Christmas Eve against the Bengals at home. I think also at the same time. So if you enjoy Saturday NFL football, you're going to get it 2 weeks in a row in week 15 and 16. So there's some news for you that I can relay for you. Robert says professional wrestling is a soap opera. I don't completely disagree with that. It's theater. I've been a wrestling fan since I'd say about 1996, 97. I think that's whenever I became a wrestling fan. And it's I'm not going to use the word fake because you can't fake falling down on a mat. You can't fake taking bumps off of turnbuckles or ladders or going through tables or anything like that. None of that is fake. I'd say it's scripted. It's and even then, a lot of it's called on the fly. It's theater is what it is to me. It's the perfect blend of sports because it does take athleticism to do what they do. But it's also entertainment, hence the name sports entertainment. Yeah. Yeah, it's simply put, it's scripted. Again, like there's like a lot of like the promos and stuff like that, storylines, all that stuff is scripted. A lot of stuff that happens in the ring is not scripted. Sometimes wrestlers will plan out a couple spots that they want to hit, usually the finish, usually a couple of other spots that they want to do, but a lot of that stuff is usually called on the fly. So that is where the art kind of takes over. Menacing mollusk, man, it's dropping a Pens question. What should the Penguins do to fix the power play? Ooh, man. I'm a hockey fan. I wouldn't call myself a hockey expert. They definitely have the talent to be doing better on the power play than they do. From what I see, they need to move with more purpose to try to create openings for shooting. The cross, the passes from half wall to half wall, going across, trying to cut through the diamond that PK usually sets up in. It usually doesn't work. Those passes get intercepted far too often. They just need to try to set up better for to create shooting lanes. And definitely have that guy who's in the middle. If you're running a 1-3-1, have the guys in the middle be able to bang the junk if possible. And with that being said, we are going to transition back to football because joining me now from the South Side, live and in living color, because we had a CM Punk reference. I had to put that in there.
Nice.
Is Corey Crisan from the South Side. Corey, what is going on, my friend?
Well, I roll in here and I see there's a comment on the screen about the Penguins power play. Yeah. I see Darren talking about the NWO. I see B-Phil.
Wrestling became a topic. I got a question about the Penguins power play.
Hey, I'm in.
I'm in for it. But no, we have been talking about the Steelers as well. We did get a question from Demond about what the coordinator said today. So actually, I'm going to try to fix my lighting issue because the weather here is as unpredictable as you can imagine it being for North Texas, if you have any idea what weather is like here. So I'm going to go try to fix that. Corey, you take over and let us know what Eddie Faulkner and Tara Lawson had to say today.
Dawn says we needed you. Wow, I don't think it got that bad.
Thanks, Dawn. Jeez.
All right. Yeah, on the coordinator Thursday here on the South Side. Hey, everybody. Good seeing you. Good talking to you all again. About 10 minutes late. Not too bad today. We just got back from the locker room, and one person who I talked to was Quadri Olison, who, interestingly enough, has been emulating James Conner in practice this week on the scout team. And Olison and Connor were former teammates at Pitt. So if you want to read that little tidbit, it's on the feed on DKPittsburghSports.com right now. As for the coordinators, the obvious thing, I think everybody's been saying this now, at least as it pertains to the offense, is more points. Like, that's the thing they want, right? They want to score more points. 400 yards is great. All of that stuff is great, but they want more points. And that's what it's got to come down to at some point. But, and my big thing this week, I think it's been thematic. And if you've listened to any of these extended cut interviews, you've probably heard me ask the same question to about 5 different people. And because I have, it's basically just like the communication and the flow of things with 2 new guys in a joint system, so to speak, of designing and calling the offense. And I think it's been fascinating to hear everybody's perspective on it. And today, Eddie Faulkner basically said, look, we love the way we did it. If Falk went over to Sullivan and said, hey, I want this, or hey, I think we should do that, Sullivan was very receptive to it. And he said he thought Sullivan called a great game. So I think that's pretty imperative to start off with. And, you see the title of the show, A Good Recipe. That came from Cam Heyward. And a big part of that was the Steelers defense was only on the field. And I say only because I believe that's the lowest number of the season. They were only on the field for 41 snaps against the Bengals. So the way the offense was able to control the ball and possess the ball, and were able to just hold on to it, literally, like at minimum, hold on to it, whether they were stalling or whether they were scoring, they were able to keep the defense off the field. And Cam Heyward said sometimes the best defense is being on the bench. So I think that was a really interesting thing. Like, you saw the synergy and the balance from the offense and how it benefited the defense. And we talked about this defense all year and how banged up it's been, obviously losing the 2 starting inside linebackers. So a really interesting coordinator Thursday over here. A couple of news notes real quick. Calvin Austin's on track to play this week with an ankle injury, so you can expect to see him. And then the kickoff time for Steelers-Colts was just announced like 10 minutes earlier before I got on here.
Oh yeah, I saw the alert come through, so I've already let everybody know.
Yeah, December 16th, Saturday at 4:30 p.m. that week. So
that's 2 Saturday games in a row.
I'll take it. I'm used to Saturdays, if you know what I'm saying.
I don't. Give me NFL on Sundays. I'm not a fan of the Saturday games.
Well, all right. Swan says the move getting Connor's former teammate and friend to emulate him is very Belichick. I mean, look, like, it just so happens that Quadri Olison and James Conner were teammates at Pitt together, and now the Steelers have that guy at their disposal. I mean, if you want to frame it that way, for the years that Olison was in Arizona, or Atlanta, and Conner was in Arizona, so if the Falcons ever played the Cardinals, they could do the same thing. Like, that's kind of, sometimes you get that advantage when, college intersects with pro. Like, you can't really do that, I don't think, with wide receivers. Maybe you could do it with quarterbacks in some instances, but I thought it was fascinating that, the running backs were able to do that kind of a thing.
Yeah, to go to the point that you were talking about when it comes to Cam and saying that, the recipe for success is like between that 40 to 50 snaps. The Steelers are starting to do things where that's becoming more and more realistic, right? I mean, obviously you're not going to be able to do it every week. You're not going to, but if you can do it consistently or do it more often than you don't do it, that's obviously a big help. But a couple of stats that's going to help kind of paint the picture of how the Steelers can realistically do it. First off, fourth quarter this season, the Steelers are outscoring their opponents 54-37 in the fourth quarter. Okay, that's a pretty good number, especially considering their overall differential is in the red right now. But when you put it in the context of in weeks 1 through 4, they were outscored 28-7 in the fourth quarter, which means that since then, since they came back from the bye, or no, it's actually since week 5, they are outscoring their opponents in the fourth quarter 47-9. Right? They are absolutely, I mean, the 47 points is pretty impressive, but the 9 points in 7 games in the fourth quarter, that's ridiculous of how good this defense is playing in the fourth quarter right now.
Yeah.
Then on top of that, the rushing offense, they're currently tied for 14th in the NFL in rushing offense with 114 yards a game. And that's because in weeks 1 through 8, they averaged only 79.7 yards per game, which is terrible.
Sure.
Since then, last 4 weeks, 174 yards per game on the ground is what they're averaging.
Mm-hmm.
You do that, you run the football with that kind of success, you're going to continue to get those kind of numbers in the fourth quarter from the defense because the defense is continuously getting better. They're getting healthier. Potentially, it'd be the first time we're going to see Minka, TJ, and Cam on the field altogether since week 1. I like the way things are trending for the Steelers right now, and I'm not just talking about the change at offensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm. Rick asks, what's going on with Anthony McFarland? Is he out for the year now or something? No, he's healthy. He's fully healthy. He's practicing. He's doing everything. I just think that things have slowed down on Anthony McFarland, so to speak. And that's not, I don't think, to a fault of McFarland's. I think a large part of that has to do with the fact that Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren are running the ball so well right now. Like Najee getting yards after contact, Jaylen getting yards after contact, the explosive runs. Like, I mean, okay, if you watch Good Morning Football, Jaylen Warren won angry runs a couple weeks ago. Najee probably could have won it last week with the that like push the pile run against the Bengals. Like, they're running it really well right now. And quite frankly, there's just no need to try to shoehorn in Anthony McFarland into the offense at all.
No.
Right now. There's really no need for it. It's a good insurance policy to have, and he's a good option at kick returner, but it's not like Anthony McFarland is the second coming of Marshall Faulk either, with all due respect to Anthony McFarland. Like, they just don't need to run a guy like that on the field, especially when Najee and Jaylen are running it as well as they are.
Yeah, I think, yeah, and this is kind of something that just perplexes me a little bit because there really is like some sort of fascination with Anthony McFarland, and like I personally don't understand it, and that's nothing against McFarland. It just has everything to do with the fact that look at what Najee and Jaylen are doing. You know, you'd love to see a game where they're both just running crazy, but the fact is that week in, week out, usually one of them is running pretty dang well. You know, last week it was Najee. The like 2 or 3 weeks leading up to that, it was Jaylen. In Houston, it was Najee. Najee's been quietly having the best season of his career, and I think that's the only reason I'm even putting it quietly is because Jaylen's playing so well.
Yeah.
But Najee, if you look at some of the numbers that he's doing in terms of explosive runs, in terms of yards after contact, in terms of broken tackles, everything like that, he's having his best season. He's getting better. He's on the upward trajectory. And people are already arguing about the snap count difference between Najee and Jaylen. You plug Anthony McFarland into the mix, even if it's 5 or 6 snaps. To me, that's 5 or 6 snaps that deserve to go to Najee and Jaylen.
If you just noticed, the lights turned off behind me, so that's not me getting kicked out. That's just standard protocol over here. Swan asked, do you think Canada leaving means McFarland's time will be over also? I don't think it's going to be that drastic. Like having him as a third option is nice. I think he's a nice third option.
You need a number 3.
Yeah. Put it this way, like they chose him over Benny Snell. They kept him in training camp, and I know he got banged up a little bit early season, but he had a good training camp. They liked what they saw out of him. I just think that right now it's so warranted and so necessary for Najee and Jaylen to get all of the carries. Like,
Yeah,
I
they
don't
do.
think there's really any need to try to get Anthony McFarland on the field. And by the way, with Pat Freiermuth coming back, they're using 3 tight end sets now again. So it's like,
Yep.
you're not going to have room essentially to put
Give me more
Anthony
13
McFarland
personnel. Give me more
we
13 personnel. Heck yeah.
we were joking today. Some of us were joking that when the with the Cardinals waving Zach Ertz, that the Steelers should pick him up and start running 14.
14.
Like,
Double tight end somehow.
Yeah, like, let's get weird. Put Connor Hayward in the backfield and then have Ertz, Freiermuth, and Washington on the line. I mean, I guess that'll work. But no,
you're gonna give Steelers fans an idea that they're just gonna run with it.
No,
they're
that's not what's going to happen.
No.
And then, of course, another big news note, I don't know if you brought it up, Chris, was that the Steelers officially submitted their
No, I did not.
desire, I guess you could say, saying, hey, pick us for the 2026 and or the 2027 NFL drafts. And I don't think Pittsburgh has ever hosted it. And,
I can't recall a time they did, no.
But that would be a cool thing if that came here. I don't think it's like, a huge thing we need to extrapolate on, but I think it's pretty neat that they actually are trying for that.
No, I know it definitely be cool for sure. I mean, Pittsburgh is obviously one of the marquee franchises in the NFL. So to keep, to have it, at one of those places. I mean, it's been in Dallas. I can't remember if it's been in Green Bay or not, but it was in Kansas City. So yeah, I think it'd be really cool to have Pittsburgh host the draft. The draft is a bit of a, it's an interesting event because it's the biggest event of the offseason, obviously, and it's a huge event. We don't go cover it in person though.
No,
like we just,
there's no need for it.
Right. But if it's in Pittsburgh, that's a different story. You have somebody up in the, in the room, covering, the actual draft itself and, being able to be in there for whenever Tomlin and Omar speak or whenever a position coach comes in to talk about a draft pick. But, if there are things to cover in person and you don't have to worry about paying any kind of travel costs, why not?
Right. All right, Mr. Malveaux, let's do this dance on Najee Harris now. Okay. Mr. Malveaux says, it seems if everyone has lost their mind over one game, when this is weird, Najee has been since last season. I can't read because there's typos in here. No, hold on. Let me just do it right here. I'll do it right here, Chris. Najee Harris this season, 11 runs of 15 or more yards, tied for first in the NFL. 7 runs of 20 or more yards, tied for first in the NFL. 2.2 yards after contact per carry, tied for first in the NFL. 312 yards after contact, 4th in the NFL. 19 broken tackles, 4th in the NFL. 7.5 carries per broken tackle, 2nd in the NFL. Now, you tell me if Najee Harris is not having a good year or not. Anyway, bring back Jeremy too.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
So now you tell me if Najee's having a good year or not, and we could go off of that. AJ asked, any new insights on improving field positioning via special teams? That was a big thing that Mike Tomlin, good thing I corrected myself. It's a good thing I corrected myself. Woo! It's a good thing I corrected myself.
Better not full name Mike Tomlin.
No, did you see me? Did you see me pump the brakes, jam the brakes on that? That's one thing that Mike Tomlin. Who was I even thinking of? Maybe Michael Walker. That's the one thing that Mike Tomlin stressed this week was the field positioning and special teams. And I talked to Calvin Austin briefly after practice today about that. And they're aware things need to be cleaned up. It needs to be fine-tuned, so to speak. They need to tighten the screws on that kind of stuff, so to speak. Punting is one thing, but also the field positioning of just the flow of the game also has something to do with it as well. What do you? He's not what, Malveaux? He's not what? Najee's not what? Having his best season ever? He's arguably having his best season ever based on a lot of metrics. I mean, I just read them to you, so I don't know what data you want to argue against. It's not just what he's doing against what he did himself in his first 2 seasons. It's what he's doing compared to what the rest of the NFL is doing. Sure.
That's where he ranked. All those stats that Corey read, those are all stats that rank in the NFL right now. When you talk about how he ranks against his peers, I mean.
That's not his career stat. That's not comparing the rest of his career.
Yeah.
That is comparing to the rest of the NFL. So he's not Walter Payton. We're not saying he's Barry Sanders or anything. We're saying he's having a really damn good year.
Again, this is kind of where I personally don't understand it. Even whenever I was a fan, like I want to talk about like a legitimate fan of a team, and even there are a couple teams I'm still like diehard fan of, but like you fans get into this perspective, this point of view where if there's any kind of position battle or something like that, you've got to be all in on one guy and completely against the other. And I just will never understand that for whatever reason. Whenever Najee, he's not averaging as many yards per carry, or he's not doing, he doesn't hit the hole the same way Jalen does. Like, man, like, so what? Like, look at what the Steelers running game is doing with those two running right now.
Yeah.
Why change anything up?
Yeah.
Why they're averaging 100 over the past 4 games? They're averaging 174 yards on the ground. They do that every week. They will go undefeated, and as long as they don't turn the ball over 4 times a game. You run for that many yards per game, you will win a lot of games in this league.
Matt, here's the crazy thing about that. I don't know if Najee's going to get 100 yards this year. He's at 598 right now with 6 games to play, and I'm not going to say that he's not going to get 400 yards in 6 games. I think it'll be a little bit over 1,000, but the emergence of Jalen is just, it's carving into that in a good way. Jalen's got 93 carries for 542 yards. It's very feasible. It's very feasible that the Steelers could field 2 1,000-yard rushers this year.
I mean, so just that alone right there. Both guys are over 500 yards.
With 500, if you want to be specific, 540.
Right. So, and with how many games left?
With
6 games left? Yeah, 6 games left.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about like if you had a feature back and you were to somehow like take the majority of those yards and combine them into like a feature back type
they
guy.
Would have almost 1,200 yards right now.
That guy would, that guy would be like he would be getting the same kind of praise that everybody gave Le'Veon Bell, and for good reason. Le'Veon Bell deserved all that praise because he was phenomenal. But this tandem of Najee and Jalen both performing pretty much equally with each other and doing it in their own individual ways, both being able to, Jalen getting better at running zone. This past week, Najee having a lot of success running in gap schemes. Like those things right there, like that's the kind of stuff that excites me, is that they're both doing it in their own ways, yet it's both able to be, yet both guys are able to go out there and execute the play no matter what's called, no matter what concept it is, no matter what, they're able to go out there and execute. They don't have, like Mike Thomas talked about, it's not like Jalen, he's only the passing down guy, or he's only the guy that can do the outside runs. No, Jalen can do the inside runs too. And guess what? Najee can do the outside zone runs too.
Yeah.
This is a great tandem to have. Why complain about it at all? I don't understand.
By the way, Robert, yes, that's also what I've heard. Deontay Johnson was sick, sent home with an illness today from practice. So nothing like as residue. Don't start the conspiracy theory engine of people are mad at him or he's mad at the Steve. Do not start that. Don't do it. That's not what this is. Illness, sent home because he is sick, and they hope to have him back Friday. Do not make it anything else other than that.
There will be people that do it.
Don't do it. Don't do it. That's all I'm saying. Don't do it. All right, Chris, before we get out of here.
Matt brings up a really good point, too, when it comes to the 1-2 punch right there. The good thing is the wear and tear is less on both backs. You have a fresh back out there all the time, at all times.
Anyway.
Great thing.
By the way, someone asked about Jalen Warren's contract. He is signed through next season, and then he is a restricted free agent in 2025.
Yep.
So there is one more season full of Jalen Warren, and
it's 3 years because he was an undrafted free agent.
Right. Yep. And now I don't know what that contract's going to look like as far as an extension, but I think that's a bridge we'll cross in about 1 year's time. Although I don't want to put words in your mouth at all. I'm just trying to say that Najee's having a really damn good year, and I think there's credit to give him. That's all I want to say. And Chris agrees with me, and I think a lot of people would agree that, once you look at everything, Najee's having a pretty good year, all things considered, that this offense was handicapped severely by Matt Canada, and Jalen Warren emerged as a really legitimate running back. So that's what we're trying to say. Okay, Chris, tomorrow's a Friday. We are expected to hear from Minkah Fitzpatrick, and I know people were asking about Minkah. I mean, he practiced in full Wednesday, which is massive for his availability on Sunday. So, the arrow's pointing up on Minkah, at least as of right now. So, we're expected to hear from Minkah tomorrow on Friday. And then, of course, we'll do picks and all the traditional Friday stuff. So, I think it's time for us to sign off for the day. And we'll do it again tomorrow. Do you have a final thought?
Let's see here. Listen, like anytime we share our opinions on here, I think this is the one thing that people, at least I can only speak for myself. I don't even want to speak for Corey, but I can only speak for myself. Anytime we give our opinions here, anytime I give my opinion, I always try to base that stuff in facts, things that I can literally put my finger on and say, this is real. Right. So when it comes to this whole like Najee stuff and everything like that, like, I'm not angry here. I'm not mad. I'm not upset. I'm just saying that when people, when you make a claim, when you make a claim, and AJ coming in with a $10 contribution, really appreciate that.
Thank you, AJ.
But when people, when you make a claim, you got to be able to have it, at least from my perspective, you got to be able to have it, where you can back it up. You can say, well, this is based off of what I see. Well, obviously numbers are a big thing too. And when you can point to several different numbers, not just one thing where, oh, he's averaging 5 yards a carry, or he's averaging this, or he's not doing that. If you can list several stats that show what the guy's doing, then to me, that's something that you can talk about.
Lifted, I'll extend this into what Lifted said. Okay, he thinks the press blew the Deontay thing out of proportion. I agree to that to some extent, but I think there's a lot of really angry talking heads out there that just want to blow Deontay up for no reason. I'm not one of those. I like Deontay quite a bit. I always enjoy talking to him. I always enjoy interacting with him. I think he's a good football player. I think he at least gives a damn at minimum about this football team and about trying to win football games. So, like, look, he didn't come out and put a paragraph on Twitter saying, I apologize to Steeler Nation for my actions on Sunday, because he doesn't need to do that, quite frankly. No. Like, I don't think we blew the Deontay thing out of proportion. I mean, you could roll back the tape.
If anything, I tried to quell it.
Roll back the tape. Go back and read what we've written. I mean, that's for me or Chris or whoever. Like, at least for myself. Let me rephrase that. Let me speak for myself. I haven't blown the Deontay thing out of the water. We have a job to convey a message. And if fans are irate at Deontay Johnson for not falling on a fumble, and Deontay Johnson owns up to that mistake, we are conveying the message from Deontay. We are the conduit that flows from that locker room directly to your phones and your screens and your newspapers or whatever you consume media on. That's what we do. I wasn't saying, hey, Deontay needs to go immediately. That's not what I'm here for, at least. So I don't know if I don't think that's Lifted. I'm not saying you're pointing that at me, and I don't think you are, and I'm not construing it that way. But I will say that there are places like us, I can speak for Chris, I can speak for myself, that are seeing both sides of the coin and that understand what goes on a day-to-day basis here, and understand that, yes, Deontay knows he screwed up. Yes, Deontay addressed the team over it, and now we can move on from it. So, I think Deontay's too much under a microscope. I said this in my live cues on Monday. I think Deontay's way too far under a microscope than he should be. That's just my opinion. I understand he's wide receiver one of the most popular football franchise in the world, but I don't think he should be under a microscope as much as he is. That's my final thought on that.
Yeah, no, I agree. And listen, somebody made a comment about like sports talk radio being the worst. And listen, there is a lot of, and I don't just want to put it to radio, but there's a lot of media out there, and it's not journalism. It is just media, however you want to define it. These, certain types of shows, it's all hot takes, and that's pretty much what it gets to. They take one situation and they throw a bunch of absolutes to go along with it. Deontay messes up with one play. Well, he needs to be benched. The Steelers need to trade him. The Steelers need to do this. They need to do that. And it's, that kind of stuff. It's shock jock stuff. It's annoying. AF. I'm like, I mean, it's annoying. It's usually done by people probably 98 to 99% of the people who do it never step foot into that locker room, never have a conversation with the guy unless it's an arranged interview done through the team's PR. So, yeah, these are guys who have never had a conversation with Deontay Johnson. Both Corey and I can tell you from experience of having those conversations with Deontay, both on the record and off the record, that one play does not define him.
No.
And when but we're going to be in the minority because we're not the loudest voice out there. That's just the way it is. So,
all right. DK and Ramon in about 25 minutes. We got to get out of here. We will be back tomorrow, of course, on a Football Friday. We'll talk about the matchup, about Steelers Cardinals and what could happen. We don't think it's a winnable game. Spoiler. We will see what happens.
Steelerly with the perfect comment to end this thing. People have AB PTSD and think every Steeler has to be Hines Ward. That's actually a pretty good comment.
Who, by the way, should be a finalist for the Hall of Fame at minimum. But
should be.
We'll see. All right. He's Chris Halicke, and I'm Corey Crisan. Of course, DK and Ramon in about 25 minutes. We will talk to you on a Football Friday. This has been the Southside Beat. Remember, you can find us on demand as well here on YouTube on DK Pittsburgh Sports or on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and Spotify 24/7, 365. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Have a good one, everybody.